We have one more guest who's traveled a long way to be here with us. When delegates of the Spring RA voted to endorse Brian Frosh, he was behind in the polls. The day we endorsed Brian, the most recent poll had him down 16 points to the leading candidate, someone who has a record in support of voucher programs and that's saying that our schools had all the resources they needed. Brian, on the other hand, is a strong supporter of fully funding our schools, of protecting local autonomy and developing evaluations and keeping voucher programs out of Maryland. Our endorsements matter, and who the next Attorney General is matters to us. Brian was the best and right candidate for Attorney General. I'm proud to say that we endorsed him and worked hard to help him win the Democratic nomination for Attorney General by almost 20 points. He will do an outstanding job for our state, our schools, and our students. Please welcome the next Attorney General, Brian Frosh.
Thank you very much. I really do appreciate your endorsement. I was way behind in the polls. After my strong finish, one of the columnists in Baltimore, I think it might have been the Baltimore Sun, compared me to Secretariat. Wasn't clear which end he was referring to, but I really do appreciate your support. It means a great deal to me. I want to tell you one more campaign story. I was at a ceremony at the Naval Academy a few months ago, and I was up on a dais in front of a large audience, several hundred people, along with the governor and some other elected officials, and we stood to say the Pledge of Allegiance, and when we finished, there was a color guard at the rear of the audience, and they fired a salute, I guess because the governor was up on the stage. And as the first shots rang out, all the heads in the audience swiveled around to watch these guys firing their weapons. And when they fired the last shot and shouldered their arms, all the heads swiveled around, looked back up at us, standing on the dais, and there was a moment of hushed silence. I heard a woman in the front row say, "My God, they missed." It's been tough out there, folks. But it's a pleasure to be with you. I want you to know I'm a public school kid. K through 12, Montgomery County. I went to Walter Johnson High School, and my kids went to BCC High School. We had our 50th reunion last Saturday night, and it reminded me in many ways how important public school was to me. And I want to talk to you for a minute just about one of those ways. And it had to do with my 9th grade English teacher, Eleanor Henderson. She was a wonderful person at North Bethesda Junior High School. After we finished 9th grade, she invited about 15 or 20 of her students to be in a reading group. And she got us together monthly or bi-monthly, and we read books. Sometimes she picked the books, sometimes we picked the books. She had us read plays and then go see the plays. Her Quaker meeting had a retreat in the Catoctin Mountains, and she took us out there to talk about literature and poetry, and it was an extraordinary experience. After our big reunion, we had another little reunion for the reading group. And 3 people came from California, and among the people in this reading group were a doctor, a judge, a law school dean, an international art critic and curator, a professor at MIT, and I'm talking about the women in the group. And the guys were just as distinguished. But you think about the fact that we were in junior high school and high school in the 1950s and 60s. there weren't that many working moms. Mrs. Henderson was the working mom that we knew. She was a role model for the boys and the girls. My friends might have been as successful and as accomplished if it were not for Mrs. Henderson, but she was a catalyst. She was an inspiration to us. There is an educator and historian named Jacques Barzun who said, "Teaching is not a lost art, but respect for it is a lost tradition." And I can assure you it is not lost on me. I know how hard you work. I know how little time you have to prepare. I know you're not in it for the money. As AG, as Attorney General, I want you to know I will stand up for you. I will stand up for education. We need to do Thornton 2.0. I will advocate for additional funding for educators in our state, for education in our state. There is no better investment that we can make in the state of Maryland than investing in our children, than investing in education. It's what makes our state great. It's what makes our country great. We can't spend dollars any better than that. I don't know if you can today do what Mrs. Henderson did. I think a lot of the things that she did, you would be advised would create liability and problems, and I don't know that you have the time when you're struggling to prepare kids for tests and do all the other things that require the paperwork that you have to do that she was free from. But I know that you do a great job. And let me say, I didn't talk to Mrs. Henderson for probably the last 4 decades. I didn't thank her as I should have thanked her. I never made a penny off of anything that I did or learned in that reading group, but she enriched me. She enriched my life. She enriched the lives of my friends. And I feel, I was reminded this weekend that I regret not saying thank you to her. So let me say thank you to you. Thank you for what you do for our children. Thank you for inspiring them, for enriching their lives, for leading them. Maryland's a better place because of you. I'm honored to be here with you. Keep up the great work. Thank you very, very much.